In a major legal and political setback, U.S. Supreme Court has struck down President Donald Trump's sweeping tariff policy, ruling that it was unconstitutional. The decision targets one of the cornerstone pillars of Trump's economic agenda, his aggressive use of tariffs on global imports. In a 6-3 ruling, Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the majority opinion, concluding that the president overstepped his authority by invoking emergency powers to impose wide-ranging trade taxes. The court found that the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA, a law designed for national emergencies, does not grant the president unilateral power to impose tariffs. At the heart of the case was Trump's controversial tariff rollout, including a baseline 10% tax on imports from most countries, with significantly higher rates on key trading partners. China faced tariffs as high as 145%, while imports from Canada and Mexico were taxed up to 25 to 35%. Trump justified these measures by declaring a national emergency, citing trade deficits and the fentanyl crisis. But businesses along with more than a dozen U.S. states challenged that move, arguing the president had effectively bypassed Congress. And this time, the Supreme Court agreed. The ruling marks a notable shift. Estimates suggest the U.S. government may now have to return over $130 billion collected from importers. That process, however, could be complicated and drawn out. After the Supreme Court heard arguments in the case in November, Trump said he would consider alternatives if it ruled against him on tariffs, telling reporters that we'll have to develop a Game 2 plan. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and other administration officials said the United States would invoke other legal justifications to retain as many of Trump's tariffs as possible. Among others, these include a statutory provision that permits tariffs on imported goods that threaten U.S. national security, and another that allows retaliatory actions, including tariffs against trading partners that the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative determines have used unfair trade practices against American exporters. Before the Supreme Court issued its ruling, President Trump on February 19th addressed the court's delay in a speech, commenting on the pending decision.
I ended every one of the Biden-era exemptions, and on August 18th, I added new tariffs to cover 400 derivative products, including steel racks, which is what you make. So I say congratulations, and what a great comeback. This is a comeback that 2 years ago, right, you were almost, I don't want to say out of business, but you were almost out of business. I guess he said you can say it. You were close. He was borderline. Started telling his wife, let's have tuna fish tonight, darling. Forget about the steak. But stories like this companies are right now playing out in cities all around the country, towns, villages, all over the country. And to think I have to be in the United States Supreme Court for many, many months waiting for a decision on tariffs. Without tariffs, this country would be in such trouble right now. Without tariffs, this country would be like your company was 2 years ago. What a difference it made. And you know who brought the cases against us? People that are China-oriented, people that have business in China that want to rip us off and keep ripping us off, and the tariffs had stopped us. And not only China, other countries too. People from other countries like Canada and others, they sue us. Canada has ripped us off for years. Not anymore, they're not. And I'm waiting for a decision from the Supreme Court. Can you imagine? We have to wait. I mean, I just heard the story today, and I've told it 1,000 times. I don't think I've ever heard it any better. I even took him back to the fake news where he related the story, that he was in serious trouble. There was no business. There was no business anywhere. How was this place 2 or 3 years ago? It was not just here, the whole area. It was a disaster. And now it's vibrant. And we have to justify this because people come from other countries because they ripped us off for 50 years, and now we're doing the same thing to them, and we're being very modest about it, right, Howard? We're being very modest about it. We could go a lot further if I want to, because what they've done to us, other countries, what they've done, they almost put us out of business. And I'll tell you, if I didn't win this election, and if you had a moron like Kamala or a moron like Sleepy Joe Biden, if you had these people back, our country would have been finished. We wouldn't have had a country. So just yesterday, I was visited by the CEO of the drug company, Novartis, and his name is Vaz, first name, great guy. And he came into the White House to see our great chief of staff, who happens to be with us. Where's Susie? Susie's with us someplace. She is great. First female chief of staff and the best chief of staff. And she wanted to bring him in. It's a big, very big company, all based outside of this country. And she wanted to bring him in, so I said, come on. So I said, hello, how are you doing? How's it going? Sir, I'm building 11 plants in the United States. I said, that's a lot. How many do you have? None. But we're moving almost all our business into the United States. And I said, why are you doing that? Tariffs. Tariffs! Can you believe it? He said, tariffs. And I got to be before a court. Can you believe it? This is like men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody. I have a new one to add, voter ID. The Democrats don't want to give us voter ID because they want to cheat. The only way they can cheat is if they, look, we can stop them so easy. You know what they say? We don't want voter ID because it's racist. Okay? That's a good one. It's racist, no. I'll tell you what, when they look at the polls, 95% of the people want voter ID. Then you have proof of citizenship. So we want voter ID. We want proof of citizenship. For you to vote, let's prove that you're an American. So please, proof of citizenship. They're fighting that. They're fighting that. And then we don't want to have mail-in ballots where they're mailed in from all parts of the place. Mail-in ballots are crooked as hell. We're the only country in the world that use this type of mail-in ballot, the only country in the world. I'll tell you what, Republicans have to win this one. We'll never lose a race. For 50 years, we won't lose a race. We want voter ID. We want proof of citizenship. And we don't want mail-in ballots except for the military far away, except for people that are ill, disabled, or people that are away. Even for a vacation, we'll be generous, okay? Other than that, we don't want mail-in ballots because mail-in ballots, they cheat. Without tariffs, what would you do? You know what? Everybody would be bankrupt, everybody. The whole country would be bankrupt. And I have to wait for this decision. I've been waiting forever, forever. And the language is clear that I have the right to do it as president. I have the right to put tariffs on for national security purposes, countries that have been ripping us off for years. You know what they were doing? Using tariffs.